The Grand Galactic Council hall was shining with gold light and strange alien designs. The floor looked like a mirror, reflecting the tall pillars that reached high into the glowing ceiling. Hundreds of different alien species were sitting in a circle, watching the center stage. Some had wings, some had long arms, and some had eyes that glowed in the dark. Today was not a normal meeting. There were no wars to discuss, no problems to solve. The galaxy had been peaceful for a long time, and peace had made the council bored. So they decided to do something new, something different, something entertaining. At the center of the hall stood a tall alien with silver skin and long fingers. He was the host of the event. He raised his hand slowly, and the entire hall became silent. Today, he said, we present something special, a species known across the outer sectors as dangerous, yet primitive. A low sound of laughter spread across the hall. Many aliens already knew what he was talking about. A Deathworlder, he continued, smiling, from a world called Earth. The laughter became louder now. Some aliens whispered to each other. Those unstable creatures. They destroy themselves all the time. This should be fun. The host nodded, enjoying the reaction. Yes, humans, he said. They come from one of the harshest planets known. But today, we will see if their reputation is real, or just fear stories. He turned toward the large doors at the end of the hall. The doors were massive, made of dark metal, and covered in ancient symbols. Bring in the human, he said calmly. The doors began to open slowly, making a deep sound that echoed through the hall. At first, nothing could be seen inside, only darkness. Then footsteps. Slow, steady. A single figure walked out. A man. He was not wearing armor, just simple clothing and a worn jacket. There was a small pack on his back, and his boots made soft sounds on the floor as he walked forward. His face was calm. No fear, no anger, just quiet confidence. The laughter slowly faded. Some aliens leaned forward, watching closely. That's it, one of them said. This is the Deathworlder. The man stopped at the center of the stage. He looked around the hall, his eyes moving slowly from one alien to another. He did not speak. He did not bow. He just stood there, watching. The host smiled again, but this time, it was a little forced. Welcome, human, he said. You are here as part of our demonstration. The man finally spoke. His voice was calm and steady. You invited me, he said. The simple answer made some aliens laugh again. Yes, the host replied. We did, because we are curious. Your kind is known for survival in extreme conditions, but many believe you are limited. The human said nothing. The host continued. You cannot survive vacuum. You cannot see in full darkness. You cannot breathe toxic air. Compared to many species here, you are weak. More laughter filled the hall, but something felt different now. It was not as loud as before, not as confident. The human took a slow breath and looked up at the glowing ceiling. Then he looked back at the host. Is this why I am here? He asked. To be judged? The host smiled again. To be tested, he corrected, and to entertain. That word echoed slightly. Entertain. The human's eyes narrowed just a little, but his face stayed calm. Around the hall, some aliens began to notice something strange. The human was not reacting like they expected. No fear, no anger, no attempt to prove himself. Just patience. One of the council members leaned forward and spoke loudly. Ask him something, the alien said. Let's see how simple he really is. The host nodded. Very well, he said. He looked at the human again. Can your species survive without tools? He asked. In the wild, the human answered without delay. Yes. A few aliens laughed again, but not all of them. The host tilted his head slightly. Interesting, he said. And can you fight without weapons? The human looked directly at him. Yes. This time, the laughter was weaker. Something in the way he said it made the air feel heavier. The host paused for a moment. Then he raised his hand. Let us begin the real test, he announced. The lights in the hall changed. The center floor opened slowly, revealing a lower chamber. A deep growling sound came from below. Some aliens smiled again, excited. Now this will be entertaining, one of them said. The human did not move. He only looked down into the opening. The growling became louder. Something was coming up. Something big. Something dangerous. The host stepped back and smiled widely. "Human," he said. "Show us what your kind can really do." The platform rose slowly from the lower chamber, and as it reached the surface, the creature was revealed. Massive, muscular, covered in thick armored skin. Its eyes burned with hunger. The entire hall became silent again. The human looked at the creature. Then he rolled his shoulders slightly and stepped forward. And for the first time since he entered the hall, a small smile appeared on his face. Not fear, not panic, but something far more dangerous. Confidence. The massive creature stood on the rising platform, its heavy body shaking the ground with every breath it took. Its skin looked like dark stone, thick and rough, with sharp spikes running along its back. Its eyes glowed with a deep red light, locked onto the human in front of it. A low growl escaped its mouth, deep and heavy, like thunder rolling through the hall. Many aliens leaned forward in excitement. Now this was the entertainment they wanted. Something violent, something quick, something that would prove once and for all that humans were nothing special. The host raised his hand again and spoke loudly. "This creature comes from a high-gravity death world. It hunts creatures twice its size. It has never been defeated." Some aliens clapped softly. Others smiled, already expecting the outcome. "Begin," the host said. The chains holding the creature in place unlocked with a loud metallic sound. The beast did not wait. It moved instantly. Fast. Far faster than something so large should be able to move. It charged toward the human with full force, its claws digging into the shining floor, its mouth open wide, ready to tear him apart. A few aliens turned their heads away, expecting a quick and brutal end. But the human did not run. He did not panic. He simply stepped to the side. The creature rushed past him, missing by only a small distance. Its claws scratched the floor, leaving deep marks behind. The hall became quiet. That was unexpected. The creature turned quickly, angrier now. It growled louder, its body lowering as it prepared to attack again. The human stood still, watching it carefully. His eyes followed every movement. His breathing was slow and controlled. He was not fighting yet. He was learning. The creature attacked again, this time jumping forward with full power, trying to crush him under its weight. But again, the human moved at the last second. He bent his body, stepping just enough to avoid the impact. The creature slammed into the ground, shaking the entire hall. Some aliens shifted in their seats now. The laughter was gone. "Why is he not attacking?" one of them whispered. "Why is he just moving?" Another alien replied softly. "He is waiting." The creature stood up again, now furious. Its eyes burned brighter. It let out a loud roar that echoed through the hall. This time, it changed its movement. It slowed down slightly, circling the human, watching him carefully. It was learning too. The human did not move. He turned slowly, always facing the creature, his eyes locked on it. Seconds passed. Long, heavy seconds. Then suddenly, the creature rushed forward again, but this time it swung its massive tail toward the human. Fast, sharp, unexpected. But the human reacted instantly. He ducked under the attack and moved closer instead of running away. That surprised everyone. Instead of creating distance, he closed it. The creature tried to turn, but it was too slow this time. The human stepped in, his movement smooth and precise. He struck once, a quick hit to the side of the creature's neck. Not strong, not loud, but accurate. The creature paused for a moment, just a moment. Then it roared again and attacked wildly. Its movements became faster, but less controlled. It swung its claws, its tail, its entire body, trying to hit the human from every angle. But the human kept moving. Small steps, small shifts. Every move had a reason. Every step had purpose. He was not stronger than the creature. He was not faster than it. But he was smarter. The hall watched in complete silence now. No one laughed. No one spoke. They were seeing something they did not understand. The human was not fighting like a beast. He was fighting like something else. Time passed, though it felt longer than it was. The creature began to slow down. Its attacks became heavier, slower. It was getting tired. The human was not. His breathing stayed calm. His eyes stayed sharp. Then, in one final desperate move, the creature charged again, putting all its strength into one last attack. This time, the human did not move away. He stepped forward, directly toward the danger. The entire hull froze. At the last second, he shifted his body slightly, avoiding the creature's head by inches. Then he moved behind it in one smooth motion. And then he struck again. This time harder. This time deeper. Right at the same spot as before. The creature stopped. Its body froze. Its red eyes flickered. A deep, broken sound came from its throat. Then slowly it fell. The ground shook as the massive body hit the floor. Silence. Complete silence filled the hall. The human stepped back, looking at the fallen creature for a moment. Then he looked up at the council. His face was calm. No pride. No anger. Just stillness. One of the aliens stood up slowly, unable to believe what he had just seen. Impossible, he whispered. The host himself could not speak for a moment. His smile was gone. Completely gone. The human wiped his hand lightly on his jacket and spoke in a quiet voice. "Is that all?" he asked. And in that moment the entire council realized something terrifying. This was not entertainment. This was not a joke. They had not brought a weak creature to laugh at. They had brought something else entirely. Something patient. Something controlled. Something dangerous. And the test had only just begun. The silence inside the Grand Galactic Council hall felt heavy, like the air itself had changed. The massive body of the fallen creature still lay in the center of the stage, unmoving, its red eyes now dark and empty. No one spoke. No one laughed. Hundreds of alien eyes were fixed on the human standing beside it. He did not celebrate. He did not look proud. He simply stood there, calm, as if nothing unusual had happened. That made it worse. The host slowly stepped forward, his long silver fingers slightly shaking. This was not how the event was supposed to go. This was meant to be simple entertainment. A quick display. A weak creature from a harsh world proving its limits. But now, nothing was simple anymore. The host tried to speak, but his voice paused. He cleared his throat. That was unexpected. The human looked at him, but said nothing. The host forced a small smile. "Impressive," he added, though the word felt empty in the large hall. A council member from the upper ring leaned forward, his glowing eyes narrow. "That creature has killed entire squads," he said. "It should not have lost." Another alien replied quietly. "It did not lose to strength." A third one whispered. "It lost to something else." The human finally moved, stepping away from the creature. His boots made soft sounds against the floor, echoing slightly in the silence. "You wanted to test me," he said calmly. "So test me." The simple words made many aliens shift in their seats. There was no fear in his voice, no hesitation. It was as if he was inviting more danger. The host raised his hand again, trying to regain control. "Yes," he said. "Of course." That was only the first stage. But inside, he was no longer confident. He signaled to the lower chamber again. The floor opened once more, but this time, the light coming from below was different. Brighter, colder. A soft mechanical sound began to rise. This was not a beast. This was something else. A machine. The platform lifted slowly, revealing a tall metallic figure. It was smooth, polished, with multiple arms that moved with perfect precision. Its eyes were glowing blue sensors, scanning everything around it. "This," the host said, finding a bit of his voice again, "is a combat unit designed by one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. It calculates every move. It predicts every action. It does not get tired. It does not feel fear." The machine stepped forward with perfect balance. Its movements were silent, controlled, exact. "Let us see," the host continued, "how a human deals with perfection." Some aliens nodded. Yes, this made sense. No emotion, no mistakes. The human could not outthink a machine. The human looked at the machine. Then he took a slow breath. "You think this is better?" he asked quietly. The host did not answer. The machine moved first, faster than the creature before. Its arms shifted into different shapes, forming sharp edges and defensive shields at the same time. It attacked with clean, direct movements, aiming for efficiency, not power. The human stepped back, avoiding the first strike by a narrow margin. The machine adjusted instantly, attacking again from a different angle. No wasted motion, no hesitation. The human moved again, but this time it was harder. The machine was learning every second. It was analyzing his movements, predicting his reactions. The hall watched closely. This was different. This was not chaos. This was control against control. The machine pressed forward, forcing the human to move more, to react faster. For the first time, the human's breathing changed slightly. Not panic, but effort. Real effort. Now we see, one alien said quietly. This is the limit. But then something changed. The human stopped moving back. Instead, he slowed down. He stood still for a moment, watching the machine carefully. The machine attacked again, calculating the perfect strike. But the human did not dodge immediately. He waited, just a fraction longer than before. Then he moved. Not away, but inside the attack. The machine's arm passed just beside him. Too close. Almost impossible. The human stepped forward and struck the machine's joint. A small hit, but precise. The machine paused for a fraction of a second. That was all. The human stepped back again. The machine adjusted, attacking faster now, trying to remove that weakness. But the human had seen it. A tiny delay. A small opening. The fight continued, but now it was different. The human was not just reacting. He was guiding the machine, leading it, making it repeat patterns. The machine was perfect, but it was also predictable. And the human understood that. Minutes passed. The hall remained silent. Then, in one final moment, the machine attacked with full speed, using all its arms at once, calculating the perfect end. The human stepped forward again. One movement. One strike. The same joint. Harder this time. The machine froze. Its lights flickered. Then slowly it collapsed. Its metallic body hitting the ground with a cold, empty sound. Silence returned, even deeper than before. The human stood there, looking at the broken machine. Then he turned toward the council again. Perfection, he said quietly, is easy to predict. No one responded. No one could. Fear had started to grow now. Real fear. Because this was no longer about strength. And it was no longer about survival. This was about something far more dangerous. Understanding. And the human had too much of it. The Grand Galactic Council hall no longer felt like a place of power. It felt like a place of tension. The broken machine still lay on the ground beside the massive body of the beast, both silent reminders of what had just happened. No one spoke for a long time. The human stood between them, calm, still, as if waiting for something. The host slowly stepped back, his confidence now completely gone. He looked around at the other council members, searching for guidance, but all he saw was uncertainty. Some aliens avoided looking at the human. Others stared at him with wide, unblinking eyes. One of the oldest council members finally stood up. His body was thin and tall, covered in pale blue skin, and his voice carried a deep weight. Human, he said slowly. What are you? The question echoed softly through the hall. It was no longer a question of entertainment. It was a question of understanding. The human looked at him for a moment before answering. I am human, he said simply. The old alien narrowed his eyes. No, he replied. That is not enough. A quiet wave of agreement moved through the council. They needed more. They needed answers. The human took a slow breath and looked around the hall again. This time, his eyes were different. Not just calm, but thoughtful. You see what I can do, he said, but you don't understand why. The hall remained silent. You think I am strong, he continued, or fast, or skilled. He shook his head slightly. But I am none of those things compared to many species here. Some aliens shifted uncomfortably. That made no sense. They had just watched him defeat two powerful threats. Then explain, the old alien said. The human looked down at the floor for a moment, as if remembering something far away. My world, he began, is not kind. The lights in the hall seemed colder now. Every day, something tries to kill us. The weather, the animals, the land itself. Some aliens listen closely now, their curiosity slowly replacing their fear. Storms can destroy entire cities, the human said. Heat can burn skin. Cold can freeze blood. Even the air can change and become dangerous. A few aliens exchanged looks. Their worlds were controlled, stable, safe. And that is just the planet. The human continued. On top of that, there's us. The hall grew even quieter. Humans fight each other, he said. We compete. We survive. We adapt. His voice stayed calm, but the meaning of his words felt heavy. From the moment we are born, we learn one thing, he added. How to keep going. The old alien leaned forward slightly. So you are trained for survival? He asked. The human shook his head. No, he said. We are forced into it. That answer made something shift in the room. This was not training. This was something deeper. Pain is normal for us, the human said. Fear is normal. Loss is normal. Some aliens lowered their heads slightly. They were not used to such things. But we do not stop, he continued. We learn. We change. We improve. The human looked back at the fallen beast. That creature was strong, he said, but it relied on power. Then he looked at the broken machine. That machine was perfect, he added, but it relied on logic. He looked back at the council. Humans use both, he said quietly. The words hung in the air like a warning. Strength and logic. Together. Unpredictable. Dangerous. One of the council members spoke again, his voice slightly shaking. If your world is so dangerous, how did your species survive? The human's eyes softened slightly. We survived because we had no choice, he said, and because we never faced just one problem. He paused for a moment. We faced everything at once. The meaning of that sentence was heavy. Too heavy. The council began to understand. Not fully, but enough to feel uneasy. The host finally found his voice again, though it was weaker now. You speak as if your kind is special, he said. The human looked at him calmly. No, he replied. We are not special. The host frowned slightly. Then what are you? The human took a small step forward. The movement was slow, but it made several aliens lean back without thinking. We are survivors, he said. Silence filled the hall again. But this silence was different. It was no longer curiosity. It was realization. They had invited a species shaped by constant danger. A species that did not break under pressure. A species that learned from everything. One of the younger council members whispered, We thought this would be a joke. Another replied quietly, We were wrong. The old alien slowly sat down again, his expression serious. If what you say is true, he said, then your kind is more dangerous than we believed. The human did not deny it. He did not confirm it. He simply stood there. That was enough. Because now, the council was no longer testing him. They were studying him. And what they were learning was not comforting. The host looked around the hall one last time, unsure of what to do next. The event had changed. Completely. This was no longer entertainment. This was something else. Something far more serious. And deep inside, many of them felt the same thought forming. They had not just invited a human. They had opened a door. And they were not sure what would come through it next. The Grand Galactic Council hall no longer felt like a place of control. It felt like a place where something had gone wrong. The air was heavy, and even the lights above seemed dimmer than before. The broken machine and the dead creature still lay in the center. Silent proof that the situation had changed beyond anyone's expectations. The human stood quietly between them, his posture relaxed, but his presence now felt much larger than before. No one saw him as weak anymore. No one saw him as entertainment. Now they saw him as something unknown, and that was far more dangerous. The host slowly walked forward again, but this time his steps were careful. He kept a distance from the human, as if an invisible line had been drawn on the floor. This demonstration, he began, but his voice lacked strength, has shown us much. The human did not respond. He simply watched. That silence made the host uncomfortable. He looked toward the council members, hoping someone else would speak. Finally, a sharp-voiced alien from the upper tier stood up. His body was covered in dark scales, and his glowing eyes moved quickly between the human and the others. Enough of this, he said. We have seen what this creature can do. Now we must decide what to do with it. The word creature echoed through the hall, but this time, it did not sound like an insult. It sounded like concern. Another council member responded quickly. "We invited him," she said. "We cannot simply treat him as a threat." "Why not?" the scaled alien replied. "He has already proven he is dangerous." The hall filled with quiet whispers. Some agreed. Some did not. The balance of power in the room was starting to break. The human listened to all of this without moving. His eyes moved slowly from one speaker to another, taking everything in, watching, understanding. That made several aliens even more nervous. "Human," the old council member said again, trying to regain order. "Do you understand why this is becoming a problem?" The human tilted his head slightly. "Because you lost control," he answered calmly. The words hit the room like a shockwave. No one spoke immediately. The truth was too clear. The host looked down for a moment. That was exactly what had happened. They had planned everything. Every test. Every reaction. But now, nothing was following their plan anymore. The scaled alien stepped forward, his voice sharper now. "Then we fix it," he said. "We end this." A low tension spread across the hall. Some aliens looked at him with concern. Others nodded slowly. The human's eyes shifted toward him. "End it?" he asked. The alien did not hesitate. "Yes," he said, "before it becomes worse." The human's face did not change. But something in the room did. The atmosphere tightened. Like a storm about to begin. The old council member raised his hand. "Be careful," he warned. "We do not fully understand what we are dealing with." "We understand enough," the scaled alien replied. "It adapts. It learns. It wins." He pointed toward the human. "That is exactly why it must not continue." Several security units moved slightly around the edges of the hall. Tall figures with advanced weapons, waiting for orders. The human noticed them instantly. Of course he did. But he did not react. That calmness again. That control. "Human," the host said carefully. "This situation has become complicated." The human gave a small nod. "It was always complicated," he said. The host paused. He did not know how to respond to that. The scaled alien raised his arm sharply. "Prepare containment," he ordered. The security units stepped forward. Their weapons activated with a soft glow. The sound alone made several council members uneasy. This was no longer a test. This was escalation. The human looked at the approaching units. Then he sighed quietly. Not in fear. Not in panic. But in something closer to disappointment. "You invited me," he said. "You asked me to show what I am." The units continued to move closer, surrounding him slowly. "And now you want to stop it," he added. The scaled alien did not reply. His focus was fixed. The human took a slow breath. "This is the mistake," he said softly. One of the units stepped closer, raising its weapon slightly. The human's eyes shifted toward it. And in that moment, something changed again. Not in his body, not in his stance, but in the feeling of the room. The calm was still there. But now it felt deeper. He was no longer just observing. He was deciding. The old council member felt it immediately. "Wait," he said quickly. "Do not force this." But it was too late. The scaled alien gave a final command. Now, the units moved in. Fast, precise, coordinated. But the human moved first. Not fast, not wild, just first. A small step, a shift in balance, a simple motion. But it broke the entire formation. One unit stumbled. Another reacted too late. The human was already inside their line. Close. Too close. The hall exploded into motion. But not chaos. Not from the human. From the others. Because now they were reacting. And he was not. And in that moment, every single member of the council understood something they had been trying to ignore. This was not about strength. This was not about machines. This was not even about survival. This was about control. And they no longer had it. The Grand Galactic Council Hall was no longer a place of order. It had become a place of fear. The moment the security units moved, everything changed. The human stepped forward with calm precision, his movement smooth and controlled, breaking their formation before it could even close around him. One unit tried to grab him, but the human shifted his body slightly, letting the unit's own force pull it off balance. Another raised its weapon, but the human was already too close. A quick movement, a small strike, and the weapon fell to the ground with a sharp metallic sound. The hall filled with noise now. Not laughter, not excitement, but confusion, fear. The council members watched as their own systems failed in front of them. The human was not faster than the machines. He was not stronger than them, but he was always one step ahead. Every move they made, he had already understood. Every action they took, he had already seen before it happened. Within seconds, the formation was gone. The unit stood still, unable to continue without risking more failure. The human stepped back into the center of the hall once again, exactly where he had started. The silence returned, but now it felt different. Heavier, deeper, final. The scaled alien stood frozen, his earlier confidence completely gone. His glowing eyes flickered slightly as he looked at the human. How, he whispered. But the question never finished, because deep inside, he already knew the answer. The human did not respond immediately. He looked around the hall, his gaze moving slowly across every member of the council. One by one, they lowered their eyes. Not because they were forced to, but because they understood. They had crossed a line they did not understand. The old council member stood up again, slower this time, his voice carrying a quiet seriousness. Stop, he said. This ends now. No one argued. No one moved. Even the scaled alien stayed silent. The human looked at the old one. You finally understand, he said. The old alien gave a small nod. Yes, he replied. We made a mistake. The human took a step forward. Not aggressive, not threatening, but enough to remind everyone in the room that he could. You invited me as a joke, he said calmly. You wanted to see what a Deathworlder could do. His eyes moved toward the broken machine, then toward the fallen beast, and finally toward the disabled security units. Now you have seen. The words echoed softly through the hall. No one denied them. No one could. The host lowered his head slightly, his voice quiet. We misjudged your kind, he admitted. The human looked at him for a moment. Yes, he said. You did. There was no anger in his voice. No pride. Just truth. The scaled alien slowly stepped back, his earlier aggression gone. What do you want? He asked carefully. The question carried a different tone now. Not control. Not authority. But caution. The human paused for a moment before answering. Nothing, he said. That answer surprised them. Many aliens looked at each other, confused. Nothing, the host repeated. The human nodded. You called me here, he said. Not the other way around. He looked around the hall again, his expression calm but firm. I came because you asked. I showed you what you wanted to see. He took another step back, returning to the exact place where he first stood when he entered the hall. Now I leave. The simplicity of his words made the moment even more powerful. No demands, no threats, no conditions. That was what made it frightening. The old council member spoke again, his voice careful. And your kind, he asked. Are they all like you? The human looked at him for a long second. Then he gave a small, almost unnoticeable smile. No, he said. The hall held its breath. Some are better, he added quietly. A deep silence followed. The meaning of those words spread slowly through every mind in the room. If this one human was enough to break their control, then what about the rest? The human turned toward the massive doors behind him. They were still open, just as they had been when he first arrived. He walked toward them with the same calm steps, the same steady pace. No one stopped him. No one even thought about it, because now they understood something very clearly. They had never been in control. As the human reached the doors, he paused for a brief moment. Without turning back, he spoke one last time. Next time, he said, be careful what you invite. Then he continued walking. The doors slowly began to close behind him, the deep sound echoing through the silent hall. And just like that, he was gone. The Grand Galactic Council remained still for a long time after that. No one spoke. No one moved. The lights above continued to glow, but they no longer felt warm. They felt distant, cold. The host finally sat down, his hands resting quietly in his lap. The scaled alien lowered his head, no longer looking like a figure of power. The old council member closed his eyes for a moment, thinking deeply. They had wanted entertainment. They had wanted a simple show. But what they had received instead was a warning. And somewhere far beyond their controlled worlds and safe systems, a species existed that had been shaped by chaos, strengthened by struggle, and guided by understanding. A species that did not need to prove its power, because its existence alone was proof enough. And now the galaxy knew.